I'm super fascinated right now with the human genome and nutrition and how those worlds collide. There's 7 billion people on this earth, and that means there's 7 billion unique diets. So it really makes sense to me that the way our genes are expressed will impact things like our metabolism, our cravings, weight gain, and how we respond to food in general.
This is the Entrepology Podcast, the podcast where we optimize the bodies, brains, and lifestyles of entrepreneurs, go-getters, and world-changing innovators.
Welcome to the Entrepology Podcast. I'm your host, Dr. Megan Walker. As an anthropologist and naturopathic doctor, I optimize the health and performance of badass women working to change the world as entrepreneurs and go-getters. You know, people exactly like you. Your business, body, balance, and inner badass, these are the themes we are exploring. Before we jump into the interview, I want to invite you to join our free Facebook community, Legacy. If you want to be something amazing, you need to surround yourself with amazing people. The Legacy community is made up of badass women living, not leaving, but living our legacy every single day. We are leaders, parents, entrepreneurs, and innovators collectively committed to leaving the world better than we found it. My mission is to support the health and optimization of these badass superheroes, literally to places we never thought imaginable. If you are on a mission and get it that your health is the key to your unlimited potential, then join us. We are super awesome. You can find us on Facebook at www.facebook.com/groups/BE Legacy. See you there. Today was so much fun. I had the pleasure to sit down with Abigail Hopkins. Abigail is the co-founder of That Clean Life, an online meal planning platform for both consumers and healthcare practitioners. This was such a perfect interview for me because it gave me the opportunity to explore health and meal planning and spiraling up in terms of how you are feeling, but also to explore the notion of being a woman and an entrepreneur in technology, which is something that I have been through myself. There are trials and tribulations that I was really keen to explore with Abigail, and she enthusiastically came back with such an interesting portrayal of her own journey, which started as a registered nurse and now as an advocate for healthy living and for female entrepreneurs trying to leave their mark on the world. Whether you are interested in health, entrepreneurship, or how to trailblaze, this interview has it all. It is my pleasure to introduce you to Abigail Hopkins. Abigail Hopkins, welcome to the Entrepology Podcast.
Thanks so much for having me, Megan. I'm super excited to chat with you today.
Well, I'm excited too, because having you here is this great opportunity to have a collision between health and entrepreneurship and technology and female founders. And these are concepts and ideas and experiences that I relate to heavily. Can you take us through your journey? You're passionate about nutrition. You're a female tech founder. You're a mission-minded entrepreneur. How did all of this happen? Was this intentional? Was it by happenstance? Take us through the story.
Yeah, it definitely wasn't intentional. It's kind of just unfolded in what I like to call a series of fortunate events. I guess I could start as far back as being 5 years old. And I vividly remember this moment of looking down at my body and thinking I was fat at the age of 5. And this is something that kind of followed me through life. And it stuck with me, the whole theme of body image and a poor body image. And I was always super active as I went through life. I played on 3 hockey teams in high school. I played ball in the summer. I was always super busy and super active. But then I hit university and I had a food card, and I'd go into the food court and eat a lot of junk food, and the weight started to pile on because no longer was I active. I was really at a standstill sitting at my desk studying. And this is when severe body image issues hit me. It really took its toll on my mental health, and I always felt like I wasn't good enough. So this kept following me through university. And I think this thing with my health happened for a reason. And I went into acute kidney failure, and it was an issue that I had been born with that actually wasn't discovered until I was I think I was 23. I started to have severe back pain, and I was treated through physiotherapy for a long time, thinking it was muscular. But it turned out that my kidney was dying off slowly and nobody really knew about it. So I was hospitalized. I had surgery to save my kidney, and I'm good as new now. They tell me it's flat as a pancake, and they can't believe I recovered from it. But this was the real turning point for me, because I realized that I didn't want to go through life hating my body, and I couldn't take for granted the days where I did feel good anymore. And I kind of had this moment where I said, I'm not going to live like this anymore. So I set out on a journey to clean up my mind, body, and soul. And I decided that the first step I was going to take, or the first stop, would be the food I was putting in my body, because that had always been such a struggle for me. And I discovered the concept of eating clean. And before this, I had spent a lot of time dieting. I had done Weight Watchers. I had done juice cleanses. I had done every single diet on the market. And they all left me feeling really crappy and defeated and worn down. And the concept of clean eating was just about eating whole food. And that really resonated with me, and it made sense, because I thought, if I can just learn to cook with food, and real food, in ways that's delicious, I think I'll be okay here. I think it's a lot more simple than I've been making it out to be all these years. So I started following some healthy food bloggers. Joy's Health was a big influence for me about 6 years ago, as I was getting to know this space. I hit the kitchen. I started to work with food in ways that was delicious. The weight started to fall off me, but at the same time, other things started to change in my life. I was much more creative. I was more inspired. I was a better person to myself and everybody around me. And I realized that the food I was putting in my body could impact every single aspect of my health. So recovering from my kidney surgery was really the eye-opening experience for me, and it was the turning point. And I discovered meal planning during this time too. And that was a game changer of a habit for me. And I would go into the kitchen every Sunday usually and flip through cookbooks and map out my meal plan and write my grocery list, then hit the store and do my prep. And my husband would watch me do this, and he'd be like, we should be using technology for this. There's no way you should
Right.
spend hours on this every week. This is ridiculous. And I kind of laugh him off. But then other people started to notice a big change in me too, and started to ask what I was doing differently. And so I started to tell them about my meal plan, and they're asking, can you share your meal plan with me? I was like, sure, no problem. So I wrote an ebook that just had a simple meal plan of basically what I ate in the week, with a grocery list and recipes. And I put it up on my blog, because I was just blogging at the time about healthy eating, and people loved it. And I kind of realized that people want to eat healthy. They just have no idea where to start, and they overcomplicate things. And this simple ebook was helping a lot of people. So from here, it just kept unraveling, kept snowballing. Chris helped me design the ebook. Chris is my husband. He's also my co-founder. And we did really well with the ebooks over the first year. But what happened was people were following it like a diet. They'd follow the 1 week meal plan, and then they'd just go back to their old habits. So we really wanted to create something that would, live with them day after day, week after week, that would help them integrate it as a lifestyle. So that's when we created That Clean Life, which is a meal planning platform. And our main mission with that is to make eating healthy simple and fun. So the way that works is you kind of log in, you make your meal plan, it spits out your grocery list automatically for you, and we add new recipes every week, so people constantly have new inspiration. And yeah, it's 4 years in the making. It's been 4 years since we launched our first ebook, and it's just been a crazy ride full of the highest of highs and the lowest. But I'm super happy.
Well, what's really neat is you created a platform that solved a purpose, right? Like it solved a problem, and it served a purpose for people. And that's sort of that fundamental thing that any business needs to do, is it needs to make a problem easier for people. And I see this in my practice all the time. And you hear this from all the practitioners that you work with, but it's the follow through and meal planning that is the biggest challenge for people. It's not the idea that they want to eat healthier. It's the execution.
For sure. And it's all the information coming at them too. Even just going on Pinterest, people who want to eat healthy, they're like, I don't know, is this healthy? And we really wanted to create a space where they could come and, just focus on eating whole foods. That's it. Like nothing complex, no specific diet to follow. Just focus on incorporating more fruits and veggies and real foods into your diet and go from there.
And so what has the journey been like? We're going to talk about the foods and some of the quick hacks that people can start to use and implement right away. But I want to understand a little bit about this journey for you as a female tech founder. I share that experience with you. It was profoundly impactful for me. Talk to us a little bit about what that has been like, because it doesn't sound like you finish university and you're like, I'm going to be a tech founder. And yet here you are.
I know, here I am. I'm like, how did I get here? Like, I never envisioned that I went to school to be a nurse. I was a registered nurse working at a pediatric hospital here in Toronto. And, I never envisioned this is where I would be. But like you said, there was a problem and I felt really compelled to help people solve it. And it's more work than I ever could have imagined. I think my husband understood what we were getting into a lot more than I did, which he completely failed to tell me. Because now looking back, I'm like, oh my gosh, if I would have known how much work this is going to be, like I don't know if I would have ever gone this deep. Software is a crazy world. The world of technology is a crazy world. There's continuous updates. There's continuous bugs based on browsers. There's continuous features that need to be built. But this has really helped me from a personal standpoint, realizing it's not about being perfect or having the perfect product. It's just about getting a little bit better every day. And I think when you focus on being 1% better every day, by the end of the year, you're 365% better. So we've grown this thing really slowly over the course of years. We're still growing. And it's hard to not get overwhelmed, but it's so rewarding, and it's really cool to be on the edge of this type of technology and nutrition that can actually make a difference in people's lives.
And have you had an opportunity to engage in the entrepreneurial community of Toronto at large?
Yeah, so I've been a bit involved with it. I'm more involved in the nutrition and wellness space than the entrepreneurial community. To be honest with you, I feel, especially the tech community, it's very male dominated. Mm-hmm. And I've had trouble finding people to connect with in that community, people that I have things in common with. And it's pretty difficult. I've had a lot of success connecting with some really great women in the health and wellness space. But that's definitely something that's on my mind a lot. And I say to my husband a lot is I'd love to be able to connect with more women. I'd love to see more women in the tech space.
Yeah, absolutely. And it's a different world. I remember we were in a fundraising round and I was 8 months pregnant and all of the VCs we were pitching to were men. And it was a pivotal moment for me. And I was like, this is a different journey for women than it is for men on a very logistical level with respect to where I'm at now. But for all the assumptions and questions that come pull to the surface, especially as a young female entrepreneur in this space, it's a very interesting journey to walk.
Yeah, for sure. Women, pregnant women especially, are discriminated against in the tech space, which I think is super unfortunate. And this has been something I've been struggling with myself. We just got married a few years ago, and we're thinking about having kids. And it's really hard for me. I go over this in my head. When is the right time? Can I do both? Can you run a high growth startup and be a mother at the same time and do it well? And that's a specific problem that women face, and in business, not just in tech, but in business in general, mm-hmm. that men don't necessarily face. So that's something I'm struggling with right now for sure.
Yeah, and I think that's a topic of a whole different podcast episode and maybe evening with female entrepreneurs, well, let's take that conversation offline or online, because it's so true. It is absolutely different. And I've had some male colleagues who are like, oh, I get it, I have a new baby at home, but then they're right back in it. I'm like, I know you're tired, but it's not the same thing when you are sitting in a bathroom stall and pumping between investor meetings.
Yeah. And there's a whole maternal instinct there, like, that comes into play. And I am always looking to women who I admire that are running businesses and have children to kind of figure out how do they do it. So I'd love to discuss that further, because it's something I'm always pondering.
Yeah, we'll get there, because it is possible to do it. And we don't have to do it the same way that men do it, right?
For sure.
So, talking about doing things the same way as everyone else, I think that traditional model of how we eat as a family and how we plan, and our need now to be hyper efficient and hyper focused in how we pull these things together is the beautiful collision that's allowed your business to move forward the way that it has. What are some hacks that we can start to put into play in our daily lives to start to make this meal planning component of eating and running a family and running a business easier?
Yeah. I think a lot of people, when they hear the word meal planning, they think of it as a chore, and they think of it as a burden and one more piece of work to add to their never-ending list. But I really think it can be simplified. And so my first piece of advice is definitely to keep it simple with easy recipes. So you log on Instagram, you see a ton of smoothie bowls with a gazillion ingredients and, homemade veggie burgers on top of sweet potato roasted things. And it's crazy. Right. And it's so easy to get overwhelmed. So I really encourage people to keep it simple with their meals. Plan meals that you will enjoy. I see a lot of people trying to meal plan based on #health, thinking like a kale salad will be great on their meal plan. But then when it comes time to eat that kale salad, they don't really enjoy it. So that's really important, to plan for things that you enjoy, that you'll find pleasure in that food, because, no salad or no smoothie is great if you're miserable eating it. So keep it simple recipes, minimal time, minimal ingredients. Don't overcomplicate it. Plan for meals that you will enjoy, and use leftovers. I am a big fan of leftovers. So one hack that I use every night when I make dinner, I make enough so that I can throw some in a container for the next day's lunch. And I do that with breakfast too. So I'll meal plan my breakfast for the week. So I'll make two things, like something like a berry baked oatmeal and then an egg baked dish, so that I can rotate between the two and, pull them out of the fridge depending on what I'm feeling like, what my body's feeling like, and just be organized and have things ready to go.
Yeah, I love that idea. We were recording another interview today, and we were talking about the mad flurry of the morning, especially with kids. And if these are the types of things you can throw in the oven the night before and just literally pull out and put on a plate, you're so much further ahead.
For sure.
So tell us a little bit more about your platform, because I'm like, oh, are these recipes and these pulled together there? Because I'm all in. It's for practitioners and it's for consumers. What do people get on each side?
Yeah, so That Clean Life originally started out as a meal planning platform for individual and personal use. So we created it just so the average person could come on and meal plan for themselves or their family. Over our first year, we had so many wellness professionals coming to us saying, this is amazing. I need to use this with my clients. But at the time, we weren't set up to do that. So that's when we created That Clean Life for Business, which contains much more advanced features like nutrition analysis for balancing meal plans. It contains the ability to modify recipes, the ability to export and complete programs for your clients. So the two are very different. I always say our individual platform is great if you're just somebody who wants to meal plan for yourself. And then our business platform is for wellness professionals or wellness entrepreneurs who want to meal plan for their clients or provide really awesome, beautiful resources for their clients.
And can I get on the platform? So our team uses it on the nutrition side, and our nutritionists use it. As an individual on the platform, can I say I'm on a ketogenic diet and have it pull up recipes and meal plans that are specific to a diet that I'm trying out?
Yes, so that's a key difference between the individual and our business membership. So our business members have access to more advanced filters like ketogenic, like low FODMAP, anti-candida, stuff like that. We don't include that with our standard membership for more advanced meal planning, just because we feel that that should be something done under a practitioner guidance, and that's why we leave that stuff up to the professionals. But as a standard individual member, you can find things like gluten-free, paleo, egg-free, the more basic, less advanced kind of things.
What are the most common things that people are looking for as they're transitioning to healthy? What are some of those keywords and types of diets, as it were, that you find people are really gravitating towards and wanting to stick with?
Yeah, right now we're hearing a lot about the ketogenic diet. Yeah. We're getting a lot of requests for keto meals, and a lot of autoimmune paleo as well. That seems to be blowing up in the nutrition space and becoming more popular.
Yeah, it's always interesting to talk to companies that work on the technology side of things, because you hear a buzz on Instagram or with your patient base or even your friends, frankly. But it's really nice to see companies are like, no, we have a lot of data that would say that people are interested in keto or people are interested in gluten-free. There's always ebbs and flows in terms of the types of diets that people are on and looking for.
For sure. And this is super interesting too, because we have both our standard community and our wellness professionals, because these two groups are asking for different things, which I find super fascinating, because the standard community, the people who are just coming on and using it for individual use, they don't ask for anything advanced like ketogenic or autoimmune paleo. They have no idea what that is. All they care about is just simple, quick, easy recipes that are easy to make, that can be on the table in 15 minutes. That's all they care about. Whereas the wellness professionals are going the more advanced route. So I think this is what gives us a big advantage, because ultimately we use what our standard members are asking for to help our wellness professionals be better. Because I think as wellness professionals, you get caught in a bubble. You think that everybody kind of understands and has an advanced level of understanding of eating healthy. And we really use the feedback from our standard members to help our wellness professionals provide more simplified meal plans to their clients that they'll actually be able to follow.
Well, and that's just it. It's wonderful to have a complex protocol that you put together for people, but if they can't execute on it, they're not going to get better.
Exactly. And not only that, is sometimes it scares them away. And that's definitely not what you want as a business.
What else would you have to say to those wellness professionals as someone who gets to see both sides of the coin? If you had open platform, which I'm now giving you, to say anything you want to them in terms of, you guys should consider this, or look at this, or patients want this, but you guys can't get past this. Are there other things that come to mind that you would want to flag for them?
Not so. I think I covered my piece on the keeping things simple. Like, that's a definite big mistake I see being made. I see some wellness professionals come on and create these absurd meal plans and send them to their clients. And I'm just like, no, don't do that. Like, that's not going to work for you.
Abort.
Yeah. But a lot comes up around the basics of building a business too. That's what another problem we're working on solving with our business members, is helping them be better as business owners, because a lot of people aren't playing the long game. They're doing things to make a quick buck. And we really want to avoid that, because we want the long-term success for our business members. So taking care of things like consistent branding and finding your niche, and, providing really good customer service to the customers you have, instead of trying to grow and market and Facebook ads and funnels and all of that stuff. Just getting back to the basics of building a good, reliable business.
Yeah, you're speaking my language, because really focusing on those foundational pieces for wellness practitioners is a huge part of my mission with my colleagues as well. It's not always the advanced maneuvers that are most important.
Definitely. It comes down to the basics and building that foundation to start with so that you have a long-term business, so that you're still in business 5, 10, 15 years down the road. Because if you do these, sketchy things, and if you don't treat your customers well and get them results, you're not going to be successful in the long run. So,
well, and it's so important to the establishment of your brand, right?
For sure.
Why is it that you think that we have this tendency as professionals or as individuals to make nutrition so complicated? Like, if you could say, here are the 4 basic principles of nutrition that I wish everyone would just listen to, what are those? Like, if we just pull way, way back, what are some of the cornerstone pieces that you think that people should be including in their diet?
I have kind of what I call my own personal pillars of health, and I'm happy to share those. This is my personal opinion. I think it comes down to a few core things. Eating whole foods you love. So I think everywhere you turn, you see a different diet. You see somebody touting their magical cure-all diet, whether it's a plant-based or keto or paleo, or if it fits your macros. There's just so much stuff floating around there. So I think just focusing on eating whole foods that you love. I say that with intention, foods that you love, because again, I don't think there's any point in eating healthy if you don't love what you're eating. I don't want people to lose the pleasure in food. Number 2 is moving your body in a way that you enjoy. So it's really difficult to get the whole eating healthy and exercise thing down pat. So I think it's really important to find a way to exercise and move your body in a way that makes you feel good, in a way that you love. The other thing is drinking lots of water, getting enough sleep, and most importantly, nourishing your social connections, because that is often overlooked. And that is something that has been a downfall of my own personally while building a business, is that I've lost touch with a lot of friends as I get more obsessed with building a business. And it's just social connections are so important to your health. So there's a lot going on that you need to take into consideration for holistic health. But those are my personal beliefs. That's what I think is most important.
Yeah, I think that's so appropriate, because so many of the individuals in our audience are entrepreneurs and they are trying to find this balance. What are some of the key components that you have had to go out on a concerted basis to make sure that you are including to keep on top of your health? Is it things like getting a personal trainer? And obviously, I'm assuming you are meal planning on a weekly basis, but what are some of the other things that you're like, these are staples in my health that I don't let slip? Because it's so easy to fall into that entrepreneurial trap where you just don't have time.
For sure. I'm a big fan of routine. When I'm out of routine, I'm not a very nice person. So I love my morning routine. I love my rituals. Whether it's, going to bed early. I love going to bed early. I love getting up early. I wake up without an alarm. That is great for me because my body can sleep as long as it needs to. And I always wake up ready to hit the ground running. I schedule workouts as a non-negotiable. Fitness is very important to me. Fitness is kind of my personal form of meditation. So I schedule those in as non-negotiables. Those are dates with myself I don't break, regardless of what pops up, because it's really important to me. And I always keep a 1 liter glass mason jar of water on the go too. And that's been super helpful in making sure I stay hydrated, because the amount of brain power that goes into a day around that clean life is immense. So that definitely helps.
And it's so true. Those fundamentals are the things that people often overlook. They're looking for the complex hack when really it's like you have to sleep and you have to be hydrated and you have to have these fundamentals in place before those other things are going to be valuable.
Yeah, it's so funny that people are always, myself included. I was trying Weight Watchers. I was trying the cabbage soup diet. Like, I was always trying to look for this magical pill, this one thing that would solve everything. And what I've learned over the years, and what I'm super crazy passionate to tell people now, is just stick with the basics and, continuous self-reflection, checking in with yourself to see how things are going and where you can improve. I think those are the most important things, but often the most overlooked.
Yeah, and I don't want to digress from that, because I think that those fundamentals are so key. If you just eat whole real foods and do it on a consistent basis and balance your blood sugar, and you're going to feel infinitely better. But if we look to where trends are going with respect to food and with technology, how do you see this landscape shifting over the next 5 to 10 years, both in terms of the type of health technology that is available to consumers, but also food trends? Where do you think that we're going to go? Maybe let's tackle the food trends first.
Yeah. I'm super fascinated right now with the human genome and nutrition and how those worlds collide. I've been keeping a close eye on that. And I think, I forget who said it first. I think I heard Megan Telpner say it. There's 7 billion people on this earth, and that means there's 7 billion unique diets. And just like there's 7 billion people on this earth, there's 7 billion different genotypes. So it really makes sense to me that the way our genes are expressed will impact things like our metabolism, our cravings, weight gain, and how we respond to food in general. But with all of this being said, I think a lot of how we respond to food also depends on environmental factors, like, say, the toxins we're exposed to just floating around in our air, or the illnesses we get, and then the antibiotics we're put on and the medications we're taking, not to mention social influences and cultural norms. So these environmental things play a big role in how we respond to food too. So I think the human genome and personalized nutrition based on our genome is going to be a hot topic. But I'd also like to see a lot of work being done in our own food ecosystem. So my personal belief is that the government really needs to step up in terms of making better foods available to us at a fair price and making more funding available for health literacy and taking a good hard look at the processed foods that they're allowing to be put on the shelves of grocery stores and how this is impacting our people and our society. So I'm super excited to see how that kind of space unfolds, the world of our food ecosystem. But what I think I'm most excited about right now, because I've been reading a lot about it, is eating for your microbiome. So I think that's like the hottest trend to me. That's what I'm most interested in. That's what makes the most sense, because so much of our health hinges on what's going on in our guts. So I'm paying really close attention to that as well.
And if someone's listening to that, they're like, do tell. I think that's so cool, this idea of eating for your microbiome. And the notion of eating for your genome is a totally different, well, maybe it's on that spectrum of diets. What does that mean to you, eating for your microbiome?
Well, we all have different stuff going on in our guts in terms of the bacteria we have. And that people don't realize right now is that impacts every single aspect of our health, especially our hormones. So what's going on in your gut is completely different on what's going on in my gut because of our past experiences, how we were born, if we were breastfed, if we were born by C-section. There's a lot of stuff that goes into play for that. And I think the way we respond to food then is impacted by that. So I'm not an expert by any means in this quite yet. I don't know if I ever will be, but I think the way you respond to food is going to be dependent on your microbiome. And I think getting your microbiome mapped out is really interesting to see what foods will respond to your body in certain ways.
Yeah, it's absolutely... this is what I love about the concept of biohacking, where it's just as much about having an individualized analysis of where you are at as it is taking actions that then match you as an individual. And I'm really fascinated to see how you're going to be able to leverage your platform to accommodate some of these emerging technologies and conversations and opportunities. And so with that said, are there things, as someone who is involved in the health technology space, are there some trends with respect to health technology and consumer access that you see coming our way?
Yeah, so it kind of goes off the last question. I've seen people developing technology that allows them to get their genome mapped out and to feed it into a piece of software that will then spit out what they should be eating and what they should be avoiding. So I think that is super cool and super exciting, and something that has a ton of potential for us in the software we're building to create entire meal plans based on people's unique needs. There's a lot of room there for personalized nutrition. And for a long time, I think we're trying to find a one-size-fits-all approach. And I think the world is moving towards and realizing the potential of more personalized nutrition. And we're super excited to be a part of that, because I say it every day. I feel like we're just on the brink of like a major nutritional revolution here. It's just starting to happen. People are just starting to connect the dots between the way they feel and the food they put in their body. So that's super exciting for us.
Yeah, there's going to be some really cool opportunity on the frontier within the next few years. Are there any really cool apps or other technologies that you've incorporated into your life with respect to health or hacking?
This is probably not the answer you'd expect, but one of the biggest pieces of technology that has had the biggest impact on my health lately is my desktop journal. So I found this app called Day One, and it's something I downloaded to have on my desktop. And I open it up every morning. It will send you a little reminder of, it's time to journal. You can even program it to have prompts. And this has had such a big impact on my health, because as you can probably relate, my mind goes a bit crazy as a business owner. And I tend to spend a lot of time in my own head, like overanalyzing things and, hashing and rehashing things to death and worrying about things that probably don't need to be worried about. So having this journal, this desktop journal, has been a big game changer for me, and has allowed me to get my thoughts out on paper in the mornings and kind of reflect on how I'm feeling from the day before and the things that might be bothering me. And I feel like when I get it down on paper, it just changes my entire day. It makes me see the day with clearer eyes. So that has been really great for me.
When did you know you were an entrepreneur?
That's a tough question. Sometimes, I don't know, this morning, sometimes I still feel, it feels surreal. In my opinion, an entrepreneur is someone who's decided that they can just do whatever they want with their life. And I really think that moment came for me when I watched my brother, who's 3 years older than me, drop out of university. He came home. He told my parents he wanted to be an actor. He had no acting experience, didn't have, anything really going for him that way. He'd always been the creative type. And my parents said, okay, if you want to be an actor, then get going. And he got in his Jeep. Yeah. He got in his Jeep. He drove from Ontario to Vancouver. Everybody I lived in a small town. Everybody was kind of like, what the hell is Jared Kiso doing? Like, what's he thinking? Everybody's kind of sneering and judging and, doubting. And he just didn't care. He just kept going. Within the month, he had an agent out in Vancouver. He was on Smallville, and now he has just an incredible career as an actor. And why I'm telling this story is because when I saw him do this, I realized I didn't need to settle for an average life, and that I didn't need to stay within the lines or live someone else's life. And this moment had a big impact on me. And that's when I knew, not necessarily that I was going to be an entrepreneur, but that I wanted to do something great and meaningful with my life.
I love that. Nothing gets me more excited than when people are like, I live my life on purpose and it's intentional. And I love that story. And I also love that your parents were like, okay, if that's what you need to do, that's awesome. Because that takes a lot of bravery as a parent.
For sure. And it was immediate too. They were just like, all right, if that's what you want to do, then get going. Like, don't sit around this house, like get going. And he went. And yeah, it's crazy because, acting is one of the hardest things to get into. So the fact that he's carved out this amazing career for himself from nothing, and through people doubting him and laughing at him, was just so inspiring to me. And it really is what kind of fueled my own, the ability to be like, I can do whatever I want.
I love that. And it's amazing because sometimes you need the people around you to take action or to give you permission to pursue what is going to be most fulfilling for you. So that's awesome for your brother. And I'm totally stoked that your parents were on board with that, in not just, I'll get your mother to come around on this idea and you go pursue your acting. But they were both like, yeah, go do this full force. Yeah, what an awesome gift.
I'm sure they were super skeptical, but I think all it takes is one person to say, I believe in you.
Yes.
And you need those people in your life as an entrepreneur. And when doing anything difficult, you just need one person to say, I believe in you. You can do this. And if you don't have that person, it's really hard to keep going when the times get tough. And that's why I say having strong social connections is such a big part of health.
Absolutely. And, I think the journey of entrepreneurism can be lonely, and you do need at least that person who is cheerleading for you. And you have this unique opportunity to be working with your husband. How is that? I feel like people say it's either amazing or I would never do it. So what's it like in the trenches to be doing that?
Yeah, it's amazing. It's the most amazing thing, but also the weirdest thing all rolled into one. So my husband, Christopher, who's my co-founder, he's the most magical human being. I call him my unicorn because he's just so special and magical, and he always has the right things to say. And I cannot imagine going through this journey without him. And I'm not sure if I should be giving out advice, because we definitely don't have it down pat. We go through our struggles daily. It's super hard for us. One of the challenges we face is to separate our work relationship from our husband and wife relationship. And so when we start arguing about discussing something that's going on with the business, it's hard. Sometimes it just snowballs. And then we're talking about, things that have nothing to do with the business. And sometimes we find ourselves, I'll be like, you're talking to me like a business partner right now, and you need to talk to me like I'm your wife, or you need to talk to me like I'm your husband. So that's a big challenge, but I would not trade this in for anything. I think a big part of, if you're going to go into business with somebody, you have to be able to wholeheartedly trust them and lean on them. So I think building that clean life together has really only made us stronger and has strengthened our relationship. But one of the biggest lessons we're learning right now, and something we're working through, is just kind of releasing the pressure we put on both ourselves and each other. So when we feel ourselves getting run down, I think what we do a good job at is kind of putting on the brakes and communicating, saying, this isn't working for me, and figuring out how we can kind of course correct before it becomes too late. So I'd really say that the continuous self-reflection and clear communication is really key when working with your spouse.
I love that advice. Abigail, what do you want your legacy to be?
I want to be known as a kind and happy person who loves deeply without holding back, who thinks deeply, and who creates awesome tools that change lives.
Just those things. I love it. So great. Good for you. How would you define health?
In nursing school, one of the very first things, probably during our first week of nursing school, we learned the World Health Organization's definition of health, which was not just the absence of disease or illness, but a state of complete physical, mental, and social well-being. And while I don't believe in a lot of the things I learned in nursing school and the world of Western medicine are right, that is one definition that makes sense to me and that I've carried with me through the years, I feel it does a really great job at speaking to the importance of holistic health. So health isn't just if you're ill or not ill. It's a complete physical, mental, and social thing. And you need to have it all. You need to have all of those pieces in check so you can be fully whole and healthy.
It's kind of neat when all doctrines actually can look up to that definition and say it's encompassing of where they're at.
For sure, because a lot of the Western medicine world sometimes isn't relatable from a holistic health perspective, but that's one definition that's definitely sound.
It's such a great point, because it's been a while since I've gone back and looked at that definition, but you're right. It was well thought out and inclusive in that respect, for sure.
For sure.
One of the most important considerations for my patients is how closely can they follow my instructions? How easy is it to be compliant? If you take supplements, you know that tracking down the exact products that your healthcare provider recommends can be a huge hassle. This is the reason that I use FullScript as my online dispensary, so my patients can get the exact products I recommend delivered straight to the door. The best part is that FullScript sends out refill reminders when you're running low, and it makes it totally effortless to stay on track with your protocols. Never hassle with supplements again. Ask your healthcare provider to sign you up for FullScript. If you're a healthcare provider, you can sign up for a totally free account at fullscript.com/anthropology. Okay, so the second part of our interview is a component that I call our KPIs, our key performance indicators. So just like we have these in business, key outcomes that we want to measure, I think we have them with respect to actions that we take in our life as well. So indulge me, I've got 6 quick questions for you.
Sure.
All right, you mentioned this briefly already, but if you've got a consistent morning routine, can you take us through some of those details?
Yeah, so first of all, I think it's really cool that you use the term KPI because that's very much like a tech and business term. So that's awesome. I wake up without an alarm, like I said, usually around 6 a.m. I always lay out my gym clothes because I find if I don't go to the gym in the morning, the day gets away from me and the day wears me down until moving my body is no longer a priority. So I used to go to the gym right away upon waking up, but I found I was constantly then checking my phone and worried about emails that came in overnight. And then I couldn't get focused or get a good workout in. So what I do now is I make a cup of coffee. I turn on some soft piano on Spotify and open my laptop. As I was telling you, I journal first thing. I write down 3 things that I'm grateful for, and then I reflect on things that are still bugging me from the day before and work through those through writing. That has been pivotal for me. That's been really great for me. And once I have my mind clear, I head into my inbox because I really like to clear out my emails and talk to any customers who might be waiting for answers from me overnight. And once my inbox is clear and my mind is clear, I hit the gym. And I already mentioned fitness is my own personal meditation because it's the only time of the day where my mind kind of goes silent. And after the gym, I eat breakfast, I pull back up to my desk and put a few more hours of solid work. And that's pretty much my morning routine.
Fiction or nonfiction, what are you reading right now?
I'm definitely a nonfiction person. I can't even tell you the last time I read a fiction book. But I'm currently reading Aviva Romm's book, The Adrenal Thyroid Revolution. Do you know Aviva Romm?
I know Aviva Romm, but I haven't read that whole book, like not in a traditional cover to cover kind of way.
Yeah. So it's really amazing and it's really helping keep my kind of science mind fresh. Aviva Romm, definitely recommend checking her out. She's an MD, functional medicine. She just is a great teacher. What she writes is done so in a way that makes sense. I really love that book.
What is one thing you're most consistent with respect to your health? I feel like I know what the answer might be, but I want to see if we're on the same page.
I'm going to say sleep.
Okay, I thought you'd say meal planning, so I love it. Okay, sleep.
No.
Go for it.
I am so fierce about my sleep because I used to work 12-hour night shifts as a nurse, and I have never felt so horrible in my life. And this gave me just such a new appreciation for sleep. So not getting enough sleep, I know how much it impacts me. So I'm super consistent with going to bed early and getting up early because I know that's how I feel my best. And when I don't get enough sleep, I have bad cravings. I'm just a bad person to Chris. I'm just like not myself. So sleep is definitely something I prioritize.
What is something totally badass about you that people would not otherwise know?
I love rap music.
Yes.
It's like poetry that speaks to my soul. So I feel like I faced a lot of doubt from people in my circle along this journey, and it has hurt me and it has put me down. And I have to be honest with you, I have a bit of a chip on my shoulder because of it. But rap music celebrates having a chip on your shoulder. It talks about having nothing while aspiring to have everything and embracing the struggle, knowing exactly who you are, keeping your circle small, and then just forgetting about those who don't believe in you. So watching freestyles on YouTube after a long day with a stiff drink and trying to rap along is one of my favorite things of life.
I wish, can you just Instagram live that at some point? Because that's amazing. Every once in a while, I need a little M&M in my life for that exact reason.
Yeah, I'll have to send you some of my favorites. It's just like the best form of therapy.
Okay, done. What do you do for fun or play besides rapping?
I spend a lot of time with my family, whether it's in Toronto, my hometown of Listowel, Ontario, or up at our cottage on Lake Huron. So I consider myself a very private person, and it's kind of something I've struggled with and something I've come to accept about myself. But I still sometimes struggle to feel understood, and with my family is where I feel most happy and safe. I also just wrapped up a 4-week sewing class with my best friend, Andrea, which was so much fun. And we're already talking about tackling a knitting class next. So anything that gets me away from the screen and creating something tangible like a product is super awesome.
I love that within a 4-minute span, we went from wrapping with a stiff drink to a knitting and sewing class. These are things that get me super excited. Last question for you, Abigail. Entrepreneurism, are we born this way or do we learn to become entrepreneurs?
I think it's both. I believe there are two types of entrepreneurs. Those that know they want to pursue the entrepreneur path and seek out the opportunities to do so. And then there's those that fall into it accidentally because they just come across from a problem that they can't help but want to solve. So I definitely fall into the accidental entrepreneur category, but I do have friends who were definitely born as entrepreneurs and were always seeking it out. So I think it can go both ways, and I think it's never too late to become who you want to become.
On that note, Abigail Hopkins of That Clean Life, this has been a ton of fun. Where can people find out more about what you're up to?
Best spot is probably thatcleanlife.com. That's where my baby lives and breathes. And also we're big Instagram fans. You can follow us at That Clean Life and send me a note anytime. My email is abigail@thatcleanlife.com. As we chatted about, I love connecting with other entrepreneurs and people in the health and wellness and tech space. So reach out.
Amazing. Thanks so much for being here.
Thanks so much for having me. This is a lot of fun.
If you enjoyed our conversation and would like to hear more, head on over to Stitcher or iTunes and subscribe to the Entrepreneurism podcast. We would also really appreciate a quick review. When people have their health, they can change the world. Let us keep you healthy and you go change the world.